Things are really falling apart. I
Exactly.
mean, I mean that.
Yeah. Larry, yesterday there was a storm between Israel and Lebanon. Israel announced that they're going to attack Lebanon in Dahia, in southern part of Beirut, and the city is gigantic. Dahia is a populated, very populated area, and they wanted everybody to evacuate their homes, all of their homes and everything there, and get out of the city.
And
Then
quite a few people are there who've already evacuated further south to Beirut.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And here is before getting to what has happened yesterday, which I would focus later on between Iran and Donald Trump and between Israel and Donald Trump. Here is the main problem that Israel is facing, which was mentioned by Israeli UN ambassador Danny Danon. Here is what he said.
Of a drone used by Hezbollah. This is what we are dealing with. Now, Hezbollah are using different kinds of drones. Few of them with fiber optic. These drones weigh less than 2 kilograms. It flies low. It is very difficult to detect. And by the time you hear it above your head, it's too late. It can fly undetected for tens of miles. And all of a sudden, you see it above your head. A thin cable is what makes this drone different. It does not rely on a radio signal. It cannot be easily jammed, unfortunately. It gives the operator a live video feed and direct control until impact. This is a modern warfare, cheap, precise, deadly.
Which you have seen operational in Ukraine for what? 28 months, 30 months, whatever, maybe longer. So why are you just now, big question, why are you just now, you vaunted Israeli military and intelligence complex, why are you just now coming up with this?
And first of all, he said Hezbollah. The pronunciation is Hezbollah, which means the Hez means the party, and the second word is Allah, means the Hezb, the party of God.
Yeah.
And this is he says Hezbollah. Many of our audience the other day asked, "This is Hezbollah or Hezbollah?" It's Hezbollah. And
Probably because they're trying to make it a pejorative. They're trying to corrupt it, I would guess.
yeah, yeah.
They miss nothing in terms of propaganda. Nothing. They miss drones and the damage they do to tanks, but they don't miss a point on propaganda, especially Netanyahu.
And this is the reality, Larry, they're facing right now against Hezbollah. They
Yeah.
cannot, they have no solution for these FPV drones. And
The solution is to go as fast as they can to the north and kill everything in sight.
exactly, that's what they wanted to do yesterday.
Yep.
They wanted just to destroy everything in Dahia, in Beirut, the way they did, by the way, in the West Bank, in Gaza. We've seen that. How is that going to play out for Israelis? And then we had the Iranian government coming out and no direct talks, indirect talks, no messages, nothing. We're not going to have any sort of negotiation with the United States. And Israelis have to evacuate the northern part of Israel. We're going to attack the northern part of it as soon as they attack Dahia. That's why Donald Trump called Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm sure that you know what Axios reported on that. Nobody would believe what Axios says, but at least we know that there was some sort of call between the two, the Prime Minister of Israel and Donald Trump. What is your understanding of what has happened yesterday?
Well, my understanding is that Trump told him to knock it off. And my understanding is that Netanyahu said temporarily yes, and then went right back to what he was doing and has no intention of knocking it off. And that Iran has picked up on that, and we can await the strikes, because I don't think Iran is kidding around when they say they're going to now help Hezbollah hit the north, and they're going to make the pain Israel feels even deeper and greater. And I don't see, I still go back, Neiman, to the fact that I made a check yesterday to make sure I'm pretty accurate on this. We have neither done in the past, nor are we doing now, nor do we have plans to do direct talks with the Iranians. Nor apparently now do they have plans to do direct talks with us. So all we've been doing, as I've said many times, is talking through intermediaries, Pakistanis, Omanis, and so forth. No one's met. No one's talking to one another. So we are talking past each other, over each other's heads, under each other's feet. There's nothing meaningful going on in the way of diplomacy. All we have from the United States is delaying tactics that involve breaking the ceasefire periodically to exhibit the fact that we still can do this or that with regard to the Iranian Navy or whatever. And almost nothing else happening. I don't know about the clandestine world, but I can't detect anything happening of consequence. And an administration that apparently from Kane to Hegseth to the Central Command commander, Bradley Cooper, to anybody else involved in the chain of command can figure out what to do. They're lost. They have no idea what to do. Not only are they lost, they are coming to the comprehension, I don't see how they could not, that they are losing, that this is a conflict they're losing. And the longer they stay at it, not only the more people they're going to kill or get killed, but the deeper is going to be the profundity of their loss. And all I had to do was take out, as I was telling you before we went on the air, I have about a 20 by 30 space where I can put down a fairly large map. But even then, I can't encompass the distances we're talking about with precision. But some of these maps are pretty good. So I took a look at the Chinese railroad that comes in through the mountains in Mashhad and directly into Tehran and then goes elsewhere. And by the way, it finally apparently is destined for London. And then I looked at the Caspian Sea and the routes and the ports on the Caspian Sea, both in the south and the north. And if you're talking about logistics wins most wars, and certainly wars that are this far away for the United States, which is why we did Desert Storm in Desert Storm or Desert Shield in Desert Storm, Desert Shield. Desert Shield was putting 600,000 troops and all the supplies and such that was necessary. Powell's characteristic remark about it was when he was asked, why did you send 5 carrier battle groups? And he said, because I didn't have 6. In other words, we put the kitchen sink on the ground in Kuwait and elsewhere. That's the only way you deal with this kind of disparity in depth, strategic depth, logistics, and so forth. Now, Iraq wasn't quite the same situation because it's on the other side of the Persian Gulf. And so you had at your back Saudi Arabia, you had the Gulf Cooperation Council in general and so forth. You had Kuwait as your forward movement center. We have none of that now with respect to Iran. We have great depth on the other side, strategic and otherwise, even tactical depth. And with the railroad and the Caspian, you have inexhaustible supplies coming in from Russia and China. We need to stop. We need to stop before this defeat is incredibly deep and profound, and before it starts something globally that looks a lot like a recession followed by a depression. And that's got this administration, I think, in tatters. It can't seem to figure out where it is or what it needs to do. Mainly because what it needs to do is back down.
Larry, we have 2 scenarios, one on the part of the United States, the other one on the part of Israelis. Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't want the United States to get out of the region.
No.
They want the United States to stay there, I would say forever, because this going to facilitate what he has in his mind, which we know is just to destroy and capture more land from Lebanon, from Syria, from Gaza, from the West Bank, maybe all the West Bank, while the United States is somehow getting involved in some sort of conflict or some sort of war with Iran, and they're going to do their job on the other hand, on the other side of the region. And how do you see the way that Donald Trump and his administration see what's going on?
Well, that's an interesting phrase you used after my map reconnaissance. The other side of the region. What is the other side of the region? Where does it stop? Does it stop at Iran's border? Does it stop with Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, all of whom are involved in this, and all of whom are providing conduits for Russia and China? We are up against not just Iran, but we're up against Central Asia, recognizing where its bread is buttered. And its bread is buttered not in the West. It's buttered in China and buttered in Russia. Russia, from the point of view of it's sitting atop them and able to do things that they would not like, and China in terms of it's developing them majorly. This railroad stops in almost all of the points of the previous empires in history that were dynamic, productive, and are so again, big time. So that's what we're up against. More and more I read this. If there's anyone in the Pentagon with a strategic mindset, any colonel, lieutenant colonel, whatever, really thinking about this and doing what I just did, sort of cursorily, but nonetheless, I think indicatively, understands we're fighting China. We're not fighting Iran. We're only fighting Iran as a proxy of China. We're fighting China. And this is not a fight we're going to win. And it doesn't portend well for the real fight with China if that's what we're planning on sometime in the not too distant future, because we're losing the preliminary skirmishes. And oh, by the way, we're losing the preliminary skirmish in Ukraine too. And it looks like very much that Putin has decided not only is he going to send Oreshniks into Kyiv and into, where was the other place on the Dnieper River? He sent some into, Dnieper. It's looking like we're going much wider there, much more profoundly there. Putin is talking about eliminating the title of special military operation and calling it a war and declaring war on Ukraine. That would be the first step, I think, to a much wider war with strikes on NATO targets in NATO countries other than those that abut Ukraine, for example, like Poland. So this is a recipe for marching to a global conflict, the likes of which the world has never seen, and I include World War II in that, and the likes of which have, for example, driven Peter Thiel even to go to Argentina. I mean, this is more or less beginning to fulfill what his comments have indicated he believes, that the welfare states of the world, the democratic, liberal democratic states of the world are all collapsing, falling apart. And you need to have, if you're one of these sovereign individuals like he is, you need to have multiple places to go. And you need to have things that can work for you in those multiple places while the principal origin, if you will, is falling apart, disintegrating, dismembering itself. And that's what I think that's the serious nature of this conflict that we don't grasp right now.